John Kennedy leaves The View in chaos. One sentence changed everything. John Neely Kennedy, the Republican senator from Louisiana, walked onto the set of The View with a demeanor that blended Southern charm with a quiet intensity, his eyes scanning the room as he offered a warm nod to the audience. The studio buzzed with an undercurrent of tension, a palpable electricity that seemed to hum through the air even before he took his seat. The hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin, sat poised behind their sleek table. Their note cards meticulously arranged their expressions, a mix of practiced hospitality and barely concealed challenge. The audience, a diverse mix of curious onlookers and loyal fans, shifted in their seats, sensing the storm brewing. This was no ordinary talk show segment. It was a carefully orchestrated ambush, dressed up as a candid conversation. The hosts had their script, their questions sharpened like blades, ready to dissect Kennedy's controversial stances on economic protectionism and his outspoken views on cultural issues. But Kennedy, with his easy smile and unhurried gait, didn't look like a man walking into a trap. He looked like someone who'd been through tougher fights and come out standing. As he settled into the guest chair, the studio lights glinted off his glasses, and he folded his hands casually as if he were sitting down for a friendly chat on a Louisiana porch, rather than facing a national television firing squad. Whoopi leaned forward. First, her voice steady, but laced with a subtle edge, the kind that warned of a deeper intent. "Senator Kennedy." She began, her eyes locked on his. "You've been very vocal about supporting policies like a 100% tariff on foreign films. Do you really believe that building economic walls like this is the way to save Hollywood? Or is this just another way to stir up division in an already polarized country?" The question landed like a gauntlet, its implications clear. This was not just about policy, but about Kennedy's character, his motives, his place in a cultural landscape that viewed him with suspicion. The audience let out a nervous chuckle, their eyes darting between Whoopi and Kennedy, waiting for his response. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every micro-expression on his face, but Kennedy didn't flinch. He didn't shift uncomfortably or glance away. Instead, he leaned slightly toward Whoopi, his voice calm, deliberate, and unmistakably Southern, carrying the weight of conviction without a hint of aggression. Protecting American workers isn't about building walls. "Whoopi," he said, his tone measured but firm. "It's about building a foundation. We don't secure our future by selling out our present." The words hung in the air, simple yet piercing, cutting through the charged atmosphere like a blade through fog. The studio fell silent for a heartbeat. The audience processing the response, some nodding almost instinctively, others exchanging glances. A few scattered claps broke the quiet, tentative. At first, then growing bolder. Whoopi's brow lifted slightly, a flicker of surprise crossing her face, before she masked it with a tight smile. She hadn't expected him to pivot so smoothly to frame his stance, not as isolationism, but as a defense of everyday people. The audience's reaction, though small, was enough to shift the energy in the room, and the hosts sensed it. Joy Behar jumped in, her voice sharper, louder, as if determined to regain control. "But Senator," she said, leaning forward with a note card clutched in her hand, "let's be real here. Tariffs like that don't just protect jobs. They drive up costs. Movie tickets get more expensive, consumers suffer, and we risk sparking trade wars. Aren't you worried about the ripple effects of these policies?" Her question was a trap, designed to paint Kennedy as reckless, out of touch with the practical realities of his proposals. The audience leaned in, curious to see how he'd navigate this one. Kennedy tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into a faint, almost amused smile, as if Joy had just asked him something profoundly reasonable. "Oh, I'm worried, Joy," he replied, his drawl softening the words, but not their impact. I'm worried about a lot of things. But what worries me most is watching studios ship jobs overseas, hiring cheaper labor, while the folks who light the sets, run the cameras, and edit the films right here in America are struggling to pay their rent in places like Los Angeles or Shreveport. He paused, letting the words sink in his gaze, sweeping across the audience. These are the people who make the movies we all love. The grip who's on set for 12 hours, the editor burning the midnight oil to get a scene just right. They're not asking for handouts. They're asking for a fair shot. And if we don't give it to them, we're not just losing jobs. We're losing the heart of what makes our stories ours. The audience stirred, a ripple of agreement moving through the crowd. More claps followed, not just polite ones now, but genuine, heartfelt. A woman